Let's see, here we go. 7 factors of 7 figures. I'm going to talk about the stage 1 of a business. We're talking about the 100,000 to 1 million, the things that you need to focus on, the 7 factors that you have to focus on to get through that 7-figure threshold. This is something that I've worked with a lot of clients. Most of my clients are already near the 7-figure threshold, or they're already past it. And so we work on a few other things, but I've worked with a lot and spoken with so many entrepreneurs who just get stuck in this area. And so I really want to spend some time to get you guys to see these 7 factors and hopefully implement them. So who am I? If I can actually get, oh, I'm frozen. There we go. Who am I? That is me. I'm Tim Conley. I'm an entrepreneur, and I turn entrepreneurs into the leaders of their company. This is something I've been doing for the last 5 years. I've been working with entrepreneurs for 20 years in a marketing capacity, as doing advertising for them, doing operational consulting for them. I've helped build a lot of businesses over the years, and what I'm doing is this training. There's no pitch. I'm doing it for free. I'm basically just trying to put out in a public forum the lessons I've learned along the way, and the things that I've worked with that in my client work that has had massive results. That's it. Actually, there is one pitch. I'm going to tell you about next week's training, which is the 1 million to 10 million. That's the only thing I'm going to offer you at the end of this. So before we get into these 7 factors, before we get into them, the thing that is critically important, it transformed my way of looking at business. It actually made me into a consultant. This framework, if you use this framework, you filter when you're in this stage, $100,000 to $1 million. When you're in this stage, if you filter everything, I mean every decision through this framework, you're going to grow fast. And that is the 3 ways to grow a business. And this is from Jay Abraham. I read this in, actually, I probably heard it from him before this, but I read this in a book that I tell everyone to read, and that is Getting Everything You Can Out of All That You've Got. And this is like, I think it's like in the introduction or something. It's like a throwaway part. It's like right in the beginning of the book. You're like, read that, and then like, you don't even need the rest of the book, even though it's great. So if you look at all your decisions, all your activities in your business, and ask yourself this: will this get me more customers? Will it directly get me more customers? Will it directly increase the number of transactions? Will it increase the value of those transactions? And what we're doing is let's look at things directly. Those are our highest priority activities. Those that directly increase customers, those that directly increase the value of each transaction by those customers, or even additional transactions from those customers. So we can do it in 2 different ways. And then making sure that the value of every transaction is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, in theory, right? So we focus on those things. If we could just look at the direct impact, that makes it highest priority. Second thing is this indirect activity. Evaluate indirect activities based upon this, because you have to be able to say, this activity that I'm about to do, it's not directly going to be one of these 3 things. It's going to be the step that has to get done before I can do one of these 3 things. And if it's none of those, it needs to be one of the last things that you do. If it cannot fit into direct or indirectly into achieving these 3 things, more customers, more transactions, and more value per transaction, if it does not do that directly or like a secondary thing, like indirectly from there to there, if it doesn't do that, then it's a super low priority, and maybe, just maybe, shouldn't even be done. So let's get into this next part. And this is the stage. So this is an arbitrary stage. Read the book Ready, Fire, Aim by Michael Masterson, and he talks about these different stages. And so he says like 0 to 1 million, but I realized that from 0 to 100,000 is its own thing. It's kind of like the startup phase. It's the validation phase. I usually don't do any work in the validation phase, and I'm not going to cover that here. All I'm going to cover is people who have already validated their business. They have found out that people will give them money. That's all. They've already figured that part out. We've found out that people will give us money. We can get customers. We can get users. We figured that part out. Now, how do we grow? And that's what we're going to focus on, the activities you need to do from 100,000 to break that $1 million threshold. So why 1 million? It's arbitrary, fully arbitrary, but it's a round number that is psychologically impactful. If you're someone who can break $1 million in revenue, like that old phrase, the first million is the hardest. And there's a lot of truth to that. The first million is the hardest. And even before that, like the first 100 grand is the hardest. And then the first million becomes the hardest. And then the first 10 million becomes the hardest. But for this is what happens is when you're able to generate $1 million a year in revenue, you have enough resources to then build the foundation of your company. You've learned a lot, and you're going to learn these 7 factors that are coming up. You will have learned those, and you will be able to build them into a foundation when you move into the second stage of business, and which is the $1 million to $10 million phase. But here's something else. This is a statistic that really is so surprising, because all we ever hear about in the news and any of the business sites, the tens of millions and the hundreds of millions and the billions of dollars, right? Oh, that's all we ever hear about. But over 85% of all US companies never make $1 million in a single year. Never. And out of these 85%, it's somewhere around 90 something percent of these 85% never make more than a couple $100,000. So for you to be someone who is in the top 15%, actually it's probably closer to top 13% of all businesses in the United States, you just have to break $1 million in revenue. That's it. You break that, you're in the top 15%. Man, pat yourself on the back. And a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, that doesn't sound like a lot of money. And yet that puts you in the pinnacle of business. Yes, it does. And it's kind of sad. And that's why we're here. That's why we're here in this training. So you don't have to be these people. And we're gonna work on getting you out of being one of those, get you over that $1 million threshold. All right, so how to grow? It's pretty simple when you're in this stage. Get customers at break even. If you can get them at better, like if you can make a profit, fantastic. That's great. More power to you. But that isn't the end all be all. If you really want to grow, just break even. Just make sure your bills get paid and put every penny back into grabbing more customers, all the way up to $1 million, because what we're trying to do is learn. We're trying to learn the 7 factors we're about to get into. That's all we're trying to do. We're trying to grow the company so that we can have a revenue that will afford us the ability to build the foundation of the company. Otherwise, we get stuck. If we don't do this, if we don't focus on just getting as many customers as we possibly can in this stage, we end up stuck. I don't know why that is, but mentally, It's, I guess, because the business starts to wear on you. There's so much chaos, and we're going to get into that. There's so much going on that you end up just losing, I don't know, just losing a piece of your soul. And that's why I want you to just grab the customers, grab. Remember, focus on the 3 ways of growing a business. So why do you struggle? And this comes from all the clients I've ever worked with. When they're struggling, it's because they lack a focused front end offer. It's they don't have one message, one product, and one selling strategy. That's it. And we're going to talk about those. They don't have that. They have a variety of products. They have a variety of lead magnets. They have a variety of all sorts of things. There's so much variety out there that their message gets watered down, that their offer gets watered down. People don't know what to do when they experience you, and then they don't buy. And then that makes acquiring customers far more expensive. And it makes learning, more importantly, it makes learning the lessons harder on yourself too. So you're going to work on just breaking even, just get those customers, those customers. Do that. You're going to make money later. You're going to make a profit later. I promise you, you will. In stage 2, you're going to make a profit, and it's going to be amazing, and you're going to love it. But in this stage, all we want to do is learn. We want to learn how to sell $1 million worth of a single product in a single year. That's our focus. Yeah, sounds pretty cool, right? And I make it sound kind of easy, but are you stressed? Like, when you look at your day, are you stressed? Or if you're like a lot of the people who come to me and want me to help them fix their business, you're probably effing stressed. I'm going to keep this family friendly just in case, we're live out there in public. I'm going to keep it relatively family friendly. Most people are just freaking stressed out of their gourd. One of the companies I invested in, the founder is in this phase. He's right there in the middle of this phase, and he's stressed because when he walks into the office every day, he's got 13 years worth of tasks to accomplish that day. It's just stressful. There's all these things, all this stuff that is pulling on your attention, pulling here, pulling there, just on you constantly. So you're going to bed at night and thinking, oh my gosh, am I going to even survive this thing? Can I make it to $1 million? I've been at this for 3 years already. I don't know. I'm tired. I've been working crazy hours. When I come into work, I'm busy from early morning until the evening. I'm busy, and I have not gotten anywhere. And I'm stressed. Like, cortisol levels are so high in my body. I've got knots that make me look like a bodybuilder, right? Just so freaking stressed out from this. And these are the growing pains. These are happening to everyone. Straight up happening to every single person. So and it's caused by just a handful of things. You're undercapitalized. You just don't have enough. You don't have enough money. You're understaffed. You don't have enough people to help you get it done. Your attention is fragmented like everywhere. I mean, it's just like I was saying, you've got 13 years worth of tasks to accomplish in a single day, and they're all over the place, from finance to customer support, to product development, to marketing, just everywhere. You're just pulled in a bunch of different directions. And on top of that, everything is on fire. Like, it has to be solved right now, like now, not 3 minutes ago, not 3 minutes from now, but exactly right now. Everything is that way. And this is what is compounding every day, because you're not focusing on the right things. You don't have the right priorities. And you've probably seen this. You've probably seen this from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. And these 4 quadrants on setting priorities is critically important. Remember, go back to that the framework to filter everything through. Just go back to that framework and look at, how does this thing give me more customers? Does it increase my transactions? Does it increase the value of each of those transactions? And then you look at what's important, what's urgent, what's not urgent, what's not important, and along with not urgent and urgent, right? These quadrants are really important to comprehend. And you're not using them. And I bet most of you watching this have read 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. You've seen this exact chart and you were like, yeah, I like that. I dig it. I'm going to use it. And then you don't. Because if you use this, everything's not on fire. Everything in your business isn't on fire. Sure, lots of it's important, but it's not really urgent. And what you're going to learn is, when you focus on the 7 factors we're about to get into, when you focus on those, what's going to happen is you're going to start realizing that those fires, many of those fires, they can burn for a little while. You can, instead of handling them right now, you can handle them in 10 minutes, maybe even handle them in a couple of hours. Once you start understanding where these things fit into your priorities for the stage of the business that you're in, to get to that $1 million threshold, you have to focus on these activities that we're going to be covering. You have to, and you have to put them into priorities, and and learn how to let some things burn for a while, let some fires burn for a while you focus on the things that are important but not urgent. Because these are the things that are going to grow your business. And so finally, I'm finally bringing us into it. Finally, these are the 7 factors. You get these dialed, and specifically these 3. I call them the prime factors because these 3 are the most important. The other 4 are supporters to these 3. And that's product market fit, message to market match, and optimal selling strategy. These are your prime factors. You've probably heard these in some context. You've probably read them in a marketing book. A couple of these you may have seen in like Lean Startup, but I've got a few thoughts and that I want to share. And what I've noticed is that even if most people have heard these things, they're not using them. They don't treat them as prime factors in the growth of their business. They don't. They just treat it like, oh, those are cool ideas, but I don't focus on them. I don't make sure they get built into the DNA of my company. All right, so message market match. Oh, product market fit, sorry. I've got this a thing right in front of me and it's blocking most of my view. So product market fit is not the Lean Startup definition. I don't use it. Lean Startup has this idea that you can figure out product market fit in the validation phase of your business. I don't believe that at all. I've never seen it work. I've seen the validation phase and this product market fit concept put together to use it as an excuse to quit. Like, oh, this idea doesn't validate. Like most businesses, you can't even truly validate them until you've been at it for a couple of years. That's the reality. But no, we got to get right into product market fit. And if we don't find an instant fit, we discard the idea. That's insane. That is, and it may not have been the intent of the Lean Startup movement, but that was the outcome of it. And I think it's crazy insane because there's a lot of good ideas that never get through this validation phase. They never find the product market fit because they quit too soon. And so what we have is, when you're trying to find product market fit, you need to make sure you're getting your market's desires, that you truly understand them. You can define it. Your product matches the market, right? So they have a desire, you got a desire over here in the market, and you're building a product over here. So you've got to get them to line up. If your product does not match the desires of the market, it will never fit. And you can try, you can alter the product, you can do all kinds of stuff, you can do great marketing, but if it never fits their desires, and their desires can be defined as a pain, they've got an immense pain they want solved, they have an immense want that they would like to have solved. That's all of the luxury market. You know, anything that is not needed for survival falls under the category of want. So most products just fall under want. I want this thing because it's going to make me feel a certain way. You've got to make sure your product matches up with that. So we also want to make sure that that you have. I want this thing because it's going to. I have just turned on the sound, so sorry about that. So we also want to make sure that this product is just good enough. And so I call that like an 80-20 solution. We want it to be just good enough. We don't want to spend a ton of time making the perfect product because we don't know enough yet. We don't know the depth of their desire to make them the perfect product yet. That's going to take us time. So some people call this the minimum viable product. Meaning that it's that the market will use this thing enough. It will do the minimum necessary to be purchased. That's basically what an MVP is. So that's an 80-20 solution. We just want to be just good enough so that we can start learning. The next is having an identifiable path to growth. So if you look into the market and you go, man, we're getting all these early adopters, but then as you start learning that these early adopters, which made you feel like you were getting product market fit, there's not very many of them, and there isn't anyone coming after them, then you picked too small of a market. Your product or your product is too defined to a small subsegment of that market's desires, not the entire market's desires. So you're going to come back and alter your product enough to grab more market. If you can't find that, then you don't have product market fit. Then the next thing about your product and finding the fit is developing a strong customer feedback loop. You need to have as much data coming back from your customers and your prospects as just rapidly, as fast as you possibly can. And then when you know, and this is, I've gotten this question before, how do I know I've got product market fit? Well, you'll have low initial customer churn or you'll have a high initial reorder. They'll come back and purchase a second time. Depending on your business model, your type of product, you're either going to have a low churn or you're going to have a high initial reorder rate. That lets you know that I've got early product market fit. And in this stage, everything's tentative or just learning. So even when I say you've got product market fit, it's probably not going to fit for too long. It might fit for a year. It might fit for 6 months. We don't know how long it's going to be a fit, but if we have that strong customer feedback loop and we're watching our churn and reorder rates, we will have a good idea if we're hitting, if the fit is sticking. Okay, so the next one, message to market match. This is my favorite. I'm a marketing guy. I like marketing. Your message, if you're, this is basically what I believe message to market match actually means, is when you get your message dialed in to your market's desires. When it's dialed in, money comes flooding in, orders come flooding in. It becomes hard to keep up with the orders. When it's really dialed, when your marketing really hits with your market, then then the money comes flooding in. So, but in this stage, we don't really know what that is. We don't really know which message is going to hit. We don't know which message is going to match. We don't know actually which market it's going to match with, because we could have the right message and the wrong market, or the right market and the wrong message. And there's a lot of testing that goes into this just to find out. And I think that's one of the problems with going back to the validation of product market fit, is that it could be that you have the right product and the right market, but your messaging's terrible. And then that's the thing that gets people to not buy, and therefore you don't validate your business idea. That without proper messaging and your product matching, it's going, you're just going to struggle over and over and over again. And if you're seeing a lot of struggle, that's probably what's happening. You probably have a product market mostly fit. You probably figured that one out kind of, but your messaging's probably way off. If you're struggling to get customers, your messaging is not hitting their desire. So how do we know? How do we know when our messaging has hit? When our message is really hitting, we get higher than expected attention. Like people pay attention. The news writes about us. You know, we get into TechCrunch or whatever our industry media is. They're like, we've got to cover this. We have to let the world know about what's going on over here. You start seeing higher than expected attention. If you see that, then your messaging is hitting. And then the other is being able to have higher conversion rates. And that goes into some of our selling strategy later, is that people kind of come in pre-sold. It makes people buy so much easier. Maybe your business is set up for a single push button, maybe. Or it could be something where we have to get on a phone call like a couple dozen times before you become a client. Don't know. But you look at that and you say, oh, you know, our sales cycle used to be 2 months. Now, after we've been doing all this message testing, our sales cycle has dropped down to 6 weeks. That's awesome. And it looks like in this next cohort of customers, we might even drop down to 3 weeks. Our sales cycle might even drop down to 3 weeks, because we're already starting to see data that way. It's like, that's fantastic, because they're coming pre-sold to you. Out of like a scale of 1 to 10 on readiness to buy, instead of getting a bunch of 4, 5s, and 6s, all of a sudden you're getting 8s, 9s, and 10s that are just like, here's my money, please take my money. Or I've got a couple of questions and then I want you to take my money. That's when you know your messaging's really hitting. The other is there's a high referability rate, that people are starting to come and buy from you. And you're like, how'd you hear about us? Well, Jim told me about you. Larry told me about you. Jane told me about you. I was looking for the solution, and there you were. You were already available. Boom. My friend told me about you. I have to have you. High referability means your messaging is hitting, which also means your customers can tell your story. How many customers can tell your story to other people? When you have the right messaging, they just rattle it off. They know your story. They know why other people in their market need to buy from you. That's how you can tell you've really, really dialed it in, is when your customers can tell your story as well as you can. Okay, so the next, this one is really tricky. And maybe that's because I have a hard time explaining how this really works out. But the optimal selling strategy is the one way of selling that gets you the greatest results. And we it's one of the last things that we end up developing. Sometimes you haven't quite even figured out what your optimal selling strategy is before you've blown past $1 million in revenue. I've got a couple of clients that have passed like $2-3 million, and they still hadn't figured out what their optimal selling strategy was. Didn't matter. The other two, they had product market fit and message to market match, and that didn't matter. Money came in. Then it was like, oh, we're struggling. We're selling this way. We're selling this other way. What we need to do is we need one selling strategy to rule them all. The one that gets the highest conversions, the one that is the most repeatable system, the one that's the most customer-friendly experience. And I know that there's a lot of people out there who have selling systems that aren't customer-friendly. They're actually quite annoying, but they convert at a high rate. But we have to look at a bunch of other metrics to find out if this truly is optimal, because how long do they stay a customer? Do they stay forever? Do they make us a higher and higher lifetime value the better we get at doing the better we get at business? Does it increase our lifetime value? Customer-friendly experiences get to the helps your customer to sell you. That's the beauty. When you have an optimal selling strategy, going back like with the messaging's already dialed in and people just want to hand you money. Well, when you have the right selling system, the customer helps you sell them. They're like, no, here's my money. Let me give it to you. Let me find a different way. Let me show you how I would like to give you my money. They will help you take their money. All right, and I should have mentioned this at the beginning. I'm going to open up for questions at the end. More than happy to. In this one, these are the operational things. These support the prime factors. These 4 factors support the prime factors. So all we're trying to do is develop some product improvement. We want to improve our market intelligence and our deliverable management. We want to be able to improve on every aspect of how we do our job, and then we want to build a strong sales and marketing team. All right, so the first one is the product. So going back in the beginning when I was telling you 80-20 this product, we want it just good enough. So also we want to have our improvement activities, because right now all we're focused on is sell. So we want to just make sure the product's just good enough, that it's that as we learn something from selling, as we gain more market intelligence, we go back and we alter the product. We come back and we make sure that the product is getting better. We make sure that that we're having gradual changes, not massive changes. And I've seen this. I've seen a lot of people at this stage were like, oh, I've been selling it this way, but I really think we should just change it all. We should just change the whole thing. And they do. And sometimes it works. Sometimes they got an intuition about their market intelligence. Enough data came in and they just felt they had to make a giant switch. But most of the time those bomb. Most of the time, all you have to do is make gradual change. And what we're trying, along with trying to improve it to match what the market is desiring, we're also trying to make sure it's a little more efficient. We're eliminating some of the chaos along the way. We're not focused on building perfect processes right now. We don't want our production to be so dialed in that it prevents us from learning. And I've had a few clients like that. They were so dialed in on how they did their thing that they had a hard time making the shift into a multi-million-dollar a year company, because they had locked in processes before they truly understood what the market desired. And so we just want to look at product improvement as a gradual thing. Each day, each week, we're getting a little bit better at delivering our product, manufacturing it, making it faster to market, things like that. Then we're going to get into test. We want to be able to test our messaging. We want to make sure that we're learning as much about the market as we possibly can. And so I'm sitting here talking about this. So the distribution development, and with distribution in this stage, at this $100,000 to $1 million stage, with distribution, we're trying to just test our messaging. We're just trying to get out there. We want to see where, and this kind of goes back to the optimal selling strategy. Where's the best place to sell? Because sometimes your product shouldn't be even sold on your own website. It probably would be better off being sold in retail somewhere. Maybe Amazon, probably not, but maybe Amazon. But somewhere there's probably a better distribution network out there than the one you're going to start with. So we need to be able to just test them. We need to be looking at the world and saying, hey, where's the best place? Where's the best place to distribute our messaging? Where's the best place for us to distribute our product? And get, the goal of this is just to learn who we can have to promote and sell our products. It might just be our website where we have to get good at our own ads. Maybe we have to get great at SEO, and it's solely on us. That may be the best distribution platform. Odds are it isn't. There's probably a better distribution platform out there. You have to slowly test, because all we're trying to do is learn about the market, and that gets us to market intelligence. With market intelligence, we don't know what we don't know, so we have to go out into the world and learn from the market. If you were smart, you entered into a business where you already had domain knowledge, because that speeds up the process. But if you enter into a business where you have zero domain knowledge, then market intelligence is your best friend. You need to learn. And the best way to do that is to go with Steve Blank's get out of the building. You need to make sure that you're out face to face with prospects. You need to mingle among the market. You can't sit behind your computer doing SEO, doing ads, coding. You can't spend all your time behind a computer. You can't spend your time locked in your office. You have to be, and not just that, you can't just be locked into your own particular industry. I know so many developers that only go to developer conferences. That's insane. It's like you're building your product, and yet the only people you hang out with are other developers. No, go to the places where they buy your type of product. That's probably the only place you should be spending your time, because you only have so much money, so spend it on getting market intelligence, not hanging out with with people who are just like you. So get out of the building, get out of your comfort zone, get where your prospects are, so that you can just be immersed in the market, so that you understand what your market's truly, your market desires. You understand what your customers, the people who have already given you money, you talk to them, you get to know them, you get to understand what motivates them. And then also your prospects. If people come to you and then they don't buy, ask them why. Why didn't you buy from me? If just out in the world, you meet somebody and they say, what do you do? And you tell them, and then they say, oh, that's interesting. I kind of am in the market for that. Oh, great. Let me just ask you some questions. I'm not going to pitch you. I just need market intelligence. And when you know you've got it dialed, when you know you have market intelligence dialed, is that you start building a car and not a faster horse. And that's the Henry Ford quote of, if I had I'd asked my customers what they wanted, if I had asked the market what they wanted, they would have told me to build them a faster horse and not a car. When you truly understand your market, you're out there building cars and not trying to deliver faster horses. Okay, now get another drink here, because I just realized I've been talking nonstop like crazy. So what we want to do here is focus on sales and marketing. Sales and marketing, sell. This is the only thing that really matters in this stage of your business. Before, at the very beginning, you needed to validate. You need to find out if people are going to give you any money. You need to validate whether or not your business, your product idea actually had a market. You know, you looked at market desires out there and you made a solution. Do any of them kind of match up? That's all you did then. Well, but now we've got to get our message out there. We've got to get our product in front of so many people. If we don't get our product in front of as many people as we possibly can that are primed to buy from us, then we're going to struggle. We're going to struggle to get past $1 million in revenue. Maybe never even get there. Maybe we'll be one of those 85% that never make $1 million. And I've seen this. I've seen so many entrepreneurs, and I've even had them tell me that I'm wrong, that they really should be spending their time on processes. They spend like 60% of their day improving processes, just working on the inner workings of their business. And instead of just getting customers, let customers tell you. You can come back once you've made plenty of money. Once you've made a lot of money, you can come back and fix the chaos. You just go back with that cash that you made from your customers, then fix the chaos. Don't spend time in this $100,000 to $1 million stage. Do not spend the time perfecting process. You want your process and your products to be just good enough to stave off some of the chaos, because what you need to do to actually learn how to build your company is to sell. That's what you have to do. Another thing that I've seen so many people in this stage that are afraid to do, so afraid to take marketing risks. I see this question a lot on Facebook groups and in private and just conversations at conferences and everything is, give me the marketing that works. That's what, just give me that one. Just give me the thing that works. It's like if you had the perfect sales and marketing system, would you just hand that to someone else? Like if you could do that, if you could just say, oh, I have this thing and it works every single time over and over again, you're immensely wealthy. You're the richest person in the world because you have this thing that just works over and over and over again. Marketing, you have no idea what marketing will work. You don't know what sales system will work until you put it in front of your market. So then what you need to do is take all these lessons that you've been doing and start building internal sales and marketing expertise. You need people in your company who live, breathe your product and can convey the message. And I mean, everyone in your company should be able to convey the message that you have, because you never know if your VA is going to run into somebody who ends up buying from you. Or even goes from VA to becoming one of your top marketers inside your company or one of your top salespeople. Start building sales and marketing expertise inside. All right, kind of already said this, but this is just to sum up. The goal of stage one is to learn all that you can. And you're going to do that through selling. You're going to spend your time selling so that you can start to understand what your market truly desires, so that you can make sure your product fits those desires. so that you dial in your messaging so the money floods to you instead of you struggling to go get it. And you're going to spend all this time from 100,000 to 1 million. You're going to spend all this time tweaking your message, tweaking your product. And then you just ask people over and over again, buy, 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 buy. That's the goal of stage 1. So now I've told you all this stuff, and I'm prepping you for next week's talk, where from 1 million to 10 million, people who are already there, when you get into the foundational stage of your business, most of what you did, most of what you were spending your time on, and this is why I tell so many entrepreneurs, don't fall in love with your processes. Don't try to perfect them, because most of them we're going to throw out because they're not going to be strong enough to hold up the rest of the company. They're not going to be strong enough to take you from 1 million to 10 million a year. You're not going to have it. So that's what we build the foundation of the company after we've learned our lessons, after we've taken our lumps, after we've gotten past 1 million in revenue. That's when we start building the foundation of process. That's when we really go into trying to streamline things, trying to get more efficiency so that we can strengthen the base so that we can then grow another 10x. All right, so you and your team, it's going to be chaos, like straight up chaos for however long it takes you to get into the next stage. You're going to be working hard. You're going to be putting in a ton of effort. But if you keep in mind the 3 ways to grow a business, then you'll understand our focus, our sole focus in this company is make enough money so that we can build a sustainable company. That is our focus. So I want to tell you about next week. Next week, we're going to talk about killing the chaos. So you're going to have a ton of chaos in this stage. Getting past that 7-figure barrier is going to cause a ton of chaos, a lot of headaches. You're going to still be jumping all around. You're still going to have 13 years worth of tasks to accomplish every single day. But once you've got enough money coming into the company, now you can invest that money into turning yourself into a CEO, going from a founder, that hustler, the person who just gets it done, going into being able to professionally manage your company so that you can go from 1 million to 10 million. All right, that's my only offer, is to hopefully have you come and maybe you'll help me out and do a little referability and tell other people, especially entrepreneurs who are already doing $1 million in revenue or 3 million or 5 million, have them come and join in on next week's training. So let's open it up for Q&A. I'm going to jump over into Q&A time, and I'm going to get off of here so that I can actually control things, see what's in the chat. All right, let's see what's in chat. Anyone live over live? Let's see. I don't see any questions popping in. All right. No comments or questions over on the live. Anyone who's on the webinar, because I know some people are on the actual live watching there, I can check and see if questions are popping in. And if you're on the webinar chat, a handful of people have access to that. Ask me a question related to it. If not, I'll give it a few more seconds, but if not, have a great day. Thank you for watching, and I will be back next week, same time, same place, on my Facebook at /Tim Connolly Live. Be there again, training on how to go from 1 million to 10 million by becoming the CEO of your company. All right, thanks for watching.